for anybody that's never been hunting before, a deer's not dead if its eyes are closed.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hayden Alabama podcast where we're Southern storytellers. I'm Philip.
I'm Shane.
I'm Tim.
I'm Dylan.
Tim's got a little hitch.
Hiccup.
That's like
I
my
didn't know where
transmission.
he's going to go.
Yeah, well, it's just funny. I like that.
okay.
Yeah, my transmission does that on the first time through, and then it's smooth after that. And I feel like you're gonna have the same
I hope
scenario.
I am. I hope I
Aunt
am.
Marie had one. When she couldn't say Hickenbottom. Hickenbottom.
She went through 3 clutches trying to get it in there.
Today, Aunt Marie, let it out.
Let the clutch out. Well, Uncle Tim, y'all have never met Uncle Tim, but he, a year and a half ago, sat in here and we recorded for 2 hours.
It was a great episode.
It was a great episode. No sound.
Mute.
Unfortunately, nobody ever gets to see that one but us.
Hopefully, that's not what happens tonight, Dylan.
Yeah, we got back up, and we'll see if that happens. And then Dylan drove all the way from Center this afternoon to be with us and tell some stories.
Center, Alabama.
So that's what we got. We got storytelling, and we got scripture time. And that's where we're at tonight. Who's going to tell the first one?
I'll let Dylan.
Okay.
Dylan's ready.
Yeah, I'll go. Well, being from beautiful Westlake, Alabama,
Oh, boy.
the real God's country out there.
Hey, there's crappie up there. Crappie
Yeah.
capital of the world.
Yeah, there's also some big catfish too. Mm-hmm. But everybody in Cherokee County got a good boat story. So I've always been known as the one to kind of do a little trading. So I had this old four-wheeler and I decided to do some trading. I drove all the way to Clanton, Alabama and got a 1980s model Bumblebee bass boat. First bass boat I was ever going to have. First boat I was ever going to have. Well, we go down. I get the trading done. It's late. It's late at night, late. We get to driving back. I make it back to Oxford. I pull up at a red light. Now, my truck at the time, it always, it'd tell you, all your lights are working if it ain't or anything like that. Well, I look down at the dash and it says, trailer disconnected. Mm-mm. And I said, well, I guess my lights come unplugged. My wife's laying beside me. She's asleep. She done knocked out. Well, I turn around and I look behind me. Well, I don't see that boat behind me no more.
Trailer's disconnected.
Yeah, so I said, you know what? I bet it's the window tint. Let me get out and look. Well, I get out and look. And sure enough, boat wasn't there.
Bumblebee is flying.
Yeah, Bumblebee's gone.
It's done swarmed.
Yeah, we done named that boat the General Flea. So I go back to the truck, and I'm in a panic.
As you should be.
I said, hey, the boat's gone. And she said, what do you mean it's gone? I said, you remember how it was back there? She said, yeah. I said, well, it's not there no more. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, what happened? I said, heck, I don't know. So I get
Trailer
back out.
disconnected.
Yeah.
I mean, the truck told us.
I get out, and I look at it. My drop hitch broke. I had one of them cheap two-piece drop hitches.
Man.
So we ended up, I had to make a police report like it's been stolen because we couldn't find it. They found it under the bridge in Oxford, right there at the double bridges. They found it under the bridge, buried up in some weeds. The towing company called me, and they said, hey, we got your boat. And I said, well, that's good. And they said it cost $300 to get it back. I said, well, congratulations, y'all just got yourself a boat.
Just let them have it?
Yeah, I just let them have it.
How much did the boat cost?
It was
$100?
It was about, I had like 1,000 in it.
And you $300, you didn't want it?
No, it was totaled.
Oh, the boat was totaled.
Yeah, it was fiberglass.
It didn't ride by itself.
Don't need $300 anymore.
No.
Wasn't strapped on good.
No. No, that's the last time I ever used a.
Did the tow chain, you just didn't hook the tow chains up?
So it didn't have any.
If you had a tow tether.
This is a great plug for toe tether. You'd had that? You've been just fine.
Yeah. So when we got down to the boat dock and they was showing it to me, we actually picked the boat up with the trailer and pushed it over to my truck and hooked it to the back of my. It was light. And I remember hooking it up, and I looked down at it, and I said, man, this trailer ain't got no chains on it. And I told my wife, I said, I need to put some chains on it tomorrow. I said, I don't like. I never made it
Tomorrow.
till tomorrow. Yeah, it wasn't gonna get done that night.
This
So,
is a story of procrastination.
yeah,
Well,
That didn't pay off.
but he didn't really procrastinate.
Well, that's
He
true. He
didn't have a
couldn't do it.
choice.
Yeah.
well, you know what they say about good intentions.
Yeah. I got a bunch of them.
That's about all I
I
had.
hate that about you little bumblebee. I've always heard though the best days of a boat owner is the day you get it and the day you lose it, or sell
You
it.
sell it.
Yeah,
This time,
I didn't have a chance to sell that one.
Man,
Man. Uncle Tim, you up next, big guy.
Well, it being Thanksgiving, I got a pretty good one.
Now, this is going to air after Thanksgiving,
That'll
but
be,
we'll
it'll
still
be
be
good.
in the
but
spirit.
we're in the spirit of Thanksgiving and always trying to be grateful.
there'll probably be at least a dinner or something to go to
Yeah.
by the time this shows up.
But tomorrow is a national holiday, and you all know what it is. And I've been deer hunting since I was a little fella. And I'd quit after I first married, and my uncle, who's like a brother, he's 3 years older than I am, we've hunted together, and we fought together, and we fought against people together. You know, we've been buddies. And so on a Wednesday, I went and picked up my son, who was a teenager then, and I carried him to the hunting club. Now, in earlier days, I hunted with some folks that you didn't want to carry them home with you because you didn't know what they was going to do. They toted knives and guns. It was called the Knoxville Hunt Club in my earlier days. Then I was in the Stag Horn Hunting Club, and I was in the High Point Hunting Club, but this one happened at the Stag Horn. It was on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I went down to deer hunt. And I climbed a tree, and I looked over behind me on a hill, and there was a doe running by. Doe season was open. And I cracked down on her. She run up through there, and I cracked down on her, and she kept running. Didn't shoot but one time. It was clear. It was a cut over in that sage. So I got up to we left hunted Thursday morning, and I could drive from there to my sister's house in Bessemer in an hour. Well, about 2 o'clock, the phone rang. It was my uncle. He said, "Did you hunt down?" He knew I did. He said, "Did you hunt down here yesterday evening?" I said, "Yeah, me and Heath hunted over on 329. He said, "All right." He said, "Well, the man that owns that land, we had to go through 3 pastors to get that property." He said, "The man that hunts that property said somebody on that last piece of property shot and killed his bull." And he said, what do you want me to tell him?" I said, "Well, tell him I'll see him. I'm on my way back down there anyway. I'll just go eat dinner and then tear out after and hunt in the evening." I said, "I'll be down there and I'll just be down there to pay him for his bull." He said, "Or whatever he wants me to do to settle up. I'll just have to write him a check." He said, "Okay." So I went down there and my heart was racing. I was about to just going to have to write a check for $1,500 for a bull I didn't get to eat. And when I get there, it's a good warm day like it is today, and they're all standing on the porches. And he said, "Have you talked to that man about that bull yet?" And I said, "No, I ain't been over there." His name was Buster Brown. I said, "I ain't been over there to see him yet." He said, "I thought I'd wait and do it either this evening or I'd do it in the morning, whatever." And he said, "Well, that bull that you shot's just like the bull that we're shooting you."
Got him.
So payback is terrible.
Goodness, they led you on.
You had your checkbook and everything, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Miss Janet let me take checkbook that day.
Line, and sinker.
I jumped right
Oh,
into
that's
it.
a terrible feeling.
Oh, yeah.
And it's nearly, it's an hour and a half drive down there, and I'm
Oh, and you drove for an hour and a half to go down there.
Sick the whole time.
He didn't enjoy that drive at all.
would
I'm
be
seeing
so
George
mad.
Washington's.
Well, yeah,
Canada.
what did you do? The Chain's got a good point. What did you do when the gig was up?
Well, you just had to laugh.
You just laughed
And
it
you,
off on
you
the
was
tail.
relief. No,
Probably slept.
you
good that
know me,
night.
Shane.
He didn't just laugh. It off.
Payback. Christmas comes around. My uncle is a notorious man that kills deer for people.
Oh, he's a hired gun.
Hired hand.
He's a hired gun. If you want a deer, he hadn't put one in his freezer in years. He is a real hunter. He's been hunting since he was knee high to a jackrabbit. Mm-hmm. He's just a few years older than I am, but he's one of them hunters that Daniel Boone would be proud of. He starts hunting early, scouting. He's a scout. He knows the pattern. He's a big hunter. So that year, between Christmas and Thanksgiving, there's one small element of time. People were hunting hard, first season. You ain't going to see many deer. He just so happened done put 3 bucks. This was before we had our limits on the board. And we were going to back off and let everybody get him a deer before down there, there was deer everywhere, but, they slow the first season. he killed 3 and he had them on the board. And I knew it. So I said, I called him. He wasn't down there yet. He had to work that week or something. He was coming on Friday night. I called him on his way down there. I said, you need to get on down here. I said, there's about a mutiny to break out. I said, they went out there and looked at that board, and you got them 3 bucks. They ain't none of them killed nothing. I said, there's about a mutiny, and you're the president of the club. I said, when you get here, just be ready. That's all I can say. They got it loaded up for you. And I went in there and told them nobody really cared. They knew that we was going to kill deer anyway. You'd usually kill 100 or so down there every year. And when they walked up, and he got out of his truck, they had one out there, and they said, hey, how about come out here and help skin this deer? We know you're good at it because we know you killed 3, and we hope you kill another tomorrow. And he just, his face, he just knew because he'd been the president of that club for 15, 20 years.
Thought they were finna kick him out.
Because I told him, I said, they ready to hang you, boy.
He's coming down there to get his stands.
Hey, buddy.
He thought it was public land
time. Yeah, that's right.
You want to get kicked out, you go to killing a bunch of deer, but they kick you off the lease.
And, you back then, you kill all you wanted. It wasn't all the does, all the bucks you wanted. It done broke into that era.
Are you in trouble? Well, we hope you're not. But just in case you are, we know a good lawyer. Whitney Island here in Hayden, Alabama has law services, or maybe if you're not from Hayden, I'm sure she'd be happy to hear from you. So check her out at islandlaw.com. We appreciate Whitney and her sponsoring the show.
My first pastorate.
Your first pastor or your first pastoring?
My first pastorate. That's what you call your
first
church you pastored.
Your first church you pastored.
I was green as grass. Been preaching a year and a half, something like that, and I'd had a lot of opportunities to preach. But anyway, those people there, they loved on me when I first got there. I loved on them, and we won souls to the Lord. And I thought I'd be there for a long, long time. I was there about 2 years, but during that term, there's a guy that basically was the superintendent, main man in charge of the Garden City head mill.
Garden City what?
Head mill. It's where they made the barrels and all right up there at Garden City.
Oh, okay.
What they used to call that, Shane, but anyway, we call it the head mill. And so Ernest was the chairman of the deacons, and he worried about me. And we'd go to his house, and Miss Jean would fix me and the kids and Janet a hot dog after church on Sunday night. You know, back then I was bivocational, and you had 3 sermons a week to get together. You had 2 on Sunday and 1 on Wednesday. And I was taking some Bible classes, and I was burnt out, just tired. And he'd always say, come on over to the house, and we'll fix you a hot dog. Well, Miss Jean's got something fixed. Well, one particular day, Ernest was in from work, and a fellow by the name of T.M. Dye. Both of them, they're dead and gone now. That's how long it's been. And Ernest was 62 years old, and T.M. called him and said, Ernest? He said, T.M. Dye. Well, Ernest didn't hear good. He'd been working around all them hammer mills and all that, cutting them boards and the logs in the boards to put around and make them drums. And he said, oh, my God, who are we going to get to preach? He said, what do you mean? He said, you just told me that T.M. died. He said, no, Tim, this is T.M. died. Chairman Deacon worry about who's going to preach Sunday because he's afraid it's going to fall on him.
I can't
all the things he could have worried about. Well,
he was worried about T.M. dying.
He was worried about
T.M. dying.
Wednesday night. Who's going to be there Wednesday night?
That's just a play on words that you never even see. You couldn't even imagine that guy.
But they tell you won't ever get your first pastorate. Y'all been around Miss Janet.
They tell you won't get your first pastorate.
You won't ever forget about it.
Forget it. Sorry.
It's a learning experience.
Some may never get their first pastorate.
You won't ever forget that first pastorate. It's like that first love.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. And, but anyway, while we were there, there's a family that they were just had their kids as 18, 20 years old, and there's still involved with some of the youth things that's going on. And ever so often, it was go to Arab to the skating alley, whatever you want to call it, or skating rink. And the preacher had to go. You know, back then the preacher had to go to everything. And so sure enough, we left and we loaded up all the vans that we could come up with, and we lit out up there. Little did we know that Miss Sue, she's afraid of cats. Well, have any of y'all ever been to Arab skating ring? I don't know if it's still going or not.
I've been to Vinemont's,
but it was almost like going to an outside toilet indoors. It had a door up there that said women. Had another sign up there that said men. They're side by side, and you could see people coming in and out of the bathroom. And it wasn't a whole lot. It was very country. It was very country.
Very modest.
You're painting that picture.
Yeah. And so
in color.
you can throw something over the wall. And my wife is a prankster, and y'all know it.
Oh, bless it.
There's a little cat about half grown, and it comes walking through there. And Janet always pranked with him. She called Roy Uncle Fuzz, and Uncle Fuzz taught us the posy yarn, and we always had a lot of humor going on. This wasn't humor, it was to Janet. She threw that cat over the wall. Miss Sue had on a pair of blue jeans. She nearly knocked the door off the hinges coming out of that bathroom. You could see fright wrote on her face. We're talking about white as a sheet, like she had seen a ghost in there. And she's like, I don't know who threw that cat over here, but please don't ever do it again. It was alarmingly scared to her. You know, she was afraid of cats. She got in a cat fight when she was a kid or something.
A cat fight?
But she didn't like cats. And Janet, that was one time I could tell you, she could have crawled up under a table.
Regretted
throwing that cat on. And after poor Sue got to quit hyperventilating, we had a good time skating.
Hey, lucky she didn't say a few choice words.
She was a good Christian lady.
Well, I know some fine Christian people that'll
let them fly
when they get scared.
Brother Robin even let one go with a chicken snake the other day. He said,
especially if you've been in a cat fight before.
Yeah, but we worked through that, and they didn't run me off of that, and we still communicate with them.
How about that?
Aunt Janet was trying to get you run off.
She loved Aunt Sue, and her and Aunt Sue were tight as ticks. And I think that's the only thing that saved me.
Lou.
Don't throw a cat in the bathroom.
Don't throw a cat in the bathroom unless you know them people. It can be a prank on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you throw one in there and one person's scared and the other ain't, it's fit to get ugly quick.
Before we give it back over to Dylan, I want to do something that I was told that we never do, that we should do. And I just want to encourage you, if you're enjoying the storytelling, or if you've been enjoying, you've returned back to the show and you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. We'd love for you to do that. And then also, if you're enjoying the show, hit the like button. It's amazing how much that helps. And I don't know if everybody understands how much it helps a video go. But if you'd do that for us, we'd really appreciate it.
Dylan, you still in church? You want to go ahead and tell us another one?
Yeah, I'll tell you one. So I announced my calling to preach probably, I think it was 2 years ago, whenever I announced my calling to preach. So whenever I initially announced my calling to preach, you call everybody. So, I done called my wife. She was the first one I called. And I called my mom, called my dad, called my grandmother. Let all of them know. Last person I called was the pastor of our church. Because I knew what was going to happen whenever I called him. He was going to make me get up there and preach.
The next
conversation. He told me, I called him and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm announcing my calling to preach. And he said, well, that's good. You be ready Sunday.
Amen.
And I said, Sunday as in 2 days from now? Because this was on like a Friday. I said, Sunday as in like 2 days from now? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay. And he said, you'll do fine. He said, I believe in you. He hung up.
Where's the Lord God of Elijah?
Yeah. So
show up.
I go that whole day that day. I'm having whenever I go to bed at night, I'm having dreams about it. Like I am terrified.
Panic attacks.
Yeah, I'm talking about I'm tore slap up.
Which is that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty serious.
So it comes Sunday morning. It's in January. I remember it was in January. I'm sitting on the front porch of my house in a cut-off T-shirt and shorts, sweating. My wife comes to the front door. She said, "You gonna come inside?" I said, "No, it's too doggone hot inside that house."
Yeah, it's hot in there.
I was dying. We get to the church. Preacher walks up to me. He says, "Dylan, you ready?" And I'm like, "Mm-hmm." He said, we told everybody. I said, "That's great. I'm thankful for that." My whole family's there.
Supporting you.
Everybody else's whole family's there. That church has never seen that many people, I don't think, unless it's a wedding or a funeral. I walk in. I go straight to the front and I sit down. Pastor walks up to me. He said, "You nervous?" I said, "Like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well, you got what you going to preach on?" I said, "I do." Now, I've done set up this whole, I'm talking about I had 4 verses I was going to. I was going to talk about
6 pages of notes.
Yeah. And I had it because so whenever I first got started, I didn't have like a notebook. I wasn't professional yet. So I was just jotting down notes in my Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So I had, you got the little blank spot at the bottom of the page. I had it slap full of notes. Well, I had it set up, I was going to talk about, I was starting off John 3:21 about being the light. Mm-hmm. And I was going to flip over to another chapter. I was going to flip over something else. It was going to be like, I had it planned out in my head.
Reference.
Yeah, I had it planned out in my head. It was going to sound like a Billy Graham revival.
Oh, here we got it.
And I get up there. He introduces me. I get up there and I look around. And I start preaching. Whenever I got done, I don't remember hardly anything I said. Whenever I got done, I sat down. My throat's dry. My mouth is dry. I feel like I have been preaching for 2.5 hours. I sat down beside my wife. Now, my wife grew up in church also. Her granddaddy was a pastor. So I look over at her and I said, "Well, how was that?" And she looked over at me. She said, "Well, Dylan, it was only 7 minutes."
Oh.
I said,
"Shelled that corn for 7 minutes, didn't you?"
I sat down wiping the sweat off my face. And I said, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Yeah."
It was an intense 7 minutes, though.
Hey, you preach that Bible through and through.
The Lord has ways of humbling his servants.
From cover to cover in 7 minutes.
Well, you should say, well, beside the time. I mean, how?
Yeah, besides that.
How are we looking on the
Yeah,
content?
so she told me, she said, "You need to learn how to preach just a little bit longer." And I told her, I said, "Well, I don't know how to preach." My granddaddy.
First of all, I need to learn how to preach.
Yeah. So let me go get signed up for that. So my granddad, he was a Southern Baptist pastor my whole life, all the way up till he went to be with the Lord. And, watching him preach and stuff, he'd get excited every once in a while, but he wasn't one of them that was flipping the pulpit. Well, he would preach whenever he would pray. Like if we would ask him to say pray like over Thanksgiving or something like that, the food would be cold by the time we got done. You thought he was on the phone with somebody.
Had to shoo the flies off.
Yeah. I'm sitting there, I'm still fixing my plate. Like I'm gonna go ahead and start fixing my plate. I'm making my right.
It'd be a little bit.
Yeah. So the next time I preached, the Spirit got a hold of me a little bit more that time. I ended up preaching for about 45 minutes that time.
7 to 45.
Yeah. And so my wife at that church, she was sitting on the back pew. And whenever I got done, I walked back there and she said, I looked at her, I said, "Was that a little bit better?" She looked at me, she said, "I'm starving to death." And I said, "There's no making you happy."
Can't make her happy.
Like,
Somewhere in the middle, Dylan.
Yeah.
Land this thing. Somewhere in the middle of that.
That's funny. 7 minutes to 45 minutes.
7 minutes, 45.
But why
You went
wasn't
6X,
happy anyway?
man.
It's pretty good.
It'll teach you the importance of study.
Yeah.
The Bible says, "Study to show thyself approved, a workman who need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." And I told Shane him, I go down to Hayden First Baptist, and first sermon I ever preached, surrendered on. I had a little more time to prepare than you, but I walked in the church on March 1st, 1987. Told Brother Robert, I said, "Brother Robert," I said, "God's called me to preach, and I've been running from it. I'm not going to run no more." He said, "What are you going to do?" I said, crying, slanging snot, and tears running down my eyes. I said, "I'm just going to have to preach." He said, "Well, get you one together." He said, he said, when you gonna preach? I said, well, this weekend I got to work. I worked in the coal mines back then. No, I didn't. I had to do something at work. But anyway, I had 2 weeks to prepare. Boy, I cracked the shell and I found that scripture I wanted to preach, and I was wanting people to do the belly crawl all the way to the altar, slanging snot and tears flowing. And so I said, I'll be ready.
Done had to set up.
And I've always been known as a conversationist.
Yeah.
And so there's a guy, and he's done gone to the Lord, and he was there faithfully every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, Wednesday night for Bible study. And he always an encourager to young preachers, young men. He sat on the second pew on the left if you're facing him. And so that night I got to preaching. I got my chance to preach. And I had 6 pages of notes. Had 2 weeks to get it jotted down. And I said, when I get through, they're going to know somebody done shucked the corn. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, I was looking at old Frank. He was kind of leaned back in that pew, and you could tell him he's getting comfortable. And you could see he sat on the outside close to the aisle. I seen him pull that kick on that heel, kick them shoes off, and I said, he's ready for me to preach. I opened them notes up, and I opened that scripture up. I believe it was out of Luke. And sure enough, I preached. And when I got through, I sat down and said amen and told Brother Robert come do the invitation. He did. And I was sitting over there, I was like you, a sweat run off from me. And so I looked down at my watch, and it was 7. We had 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. You know, we had a discipleship training back then. Wipe sweat off my brow. It was 6. It was 7. Well, it was anyway. I'd been in the pulpit for 7 minutes.
6-7 as the 6.
7 minutes. It was. I'm gonna say 6:07. It was 7:07 or whatever. But it was 7 minutes that I was in the pulpit.
7 minutes in the pulpit.
That day, Mr. Frank had kicked his shoes off, and he was ready for me to preach because I am a conversationist. And he thought I'd be in there about 30, 40 minutes. He said, when you got through preaching, I had to put my shoes back on. My feet hadn't even cooled off.
Ain't even cooled off.
He went from my full support to my best critic.
Man, right there.
7 minutes.
If you're looking for a critic, you ain't got to go real far.
No.
Especially
he done it out of love, and he
pulpit.
had a great sense of humor, and you had to know his heart. That was who he was.
Some of the best preachers I ever seen sat in the pews. They never did grace the pulpit though.
YouTube's a great place for criticism.
YouTube will give you some.
They made sure I told you how embarrassed I was about the sound of the show last week because we lost the 2 microphones. Mm-hmm. They made sure to let me know. Sound wasn't real good. What happened to the sound?
Well, we messed up. That's what.
Buddy, we didn't know that we had 2 bad microphones when we started recording, and it's hard to know in the moment.
We had some people move. Well, one of the kids that was with us, one of our friends' daughters, she was sitting back there with my mom and with my grandmother, and tears are just flowing. She's like 6, and I'm like, man, this is getting to her right here. So I keep on talking, and I'm trying to tone my voice down a little bit. I'm trying to kind of speak to her without directly looking at her. I thought, hey, something's going on. She's ready to.
Yeah, Lord's working.
Yeah, she's ready to come up here. Well, come to find out, the reason why she was crying wasn't because the Lord was working with her. It's because she had to go to the restroom. And my youngest one that was sitting beside her, whenever she said that she was going to go tell my wife, which was sitting on the front pew, that she needed to go to the restroom, my youngest one looked at her and said, no, because Dad said you can't get up in church. So you got to sit here.
Here you are dragging the sermon out.
Here I am dragging the sermon out thinking I'm getting a hold of something here.
Well, did she make it?
She did.
All right.
Bless that baby.
She's back here.
My mom thought the same thing. So she's sitting here and she's looking at her and she sees them squalling. And,
she finna get saved.
Yeah. We thought, hey,
everybody. Or pee on herself. One of the.
Yeah. The only one that wasn't on the same page as us was her. So
goodness gracious.
Everybody else was thinking the same thing except for her.
That poor thing.
Bless that baby.
That's a serious time, but just got your wires crossed. That's all.
Yeah, because it was during altar call.
Right.
And I've told my kids, you don't move during altar call. Yeah, right. You don't get up. You gotta go to the bathroom. You better hold it. Like that's how I was raised the same way.
Same way.
You don't get up during you don't make no noise during altar call.
You done had 3 or 4 extra verses sung, and she's back there just praying.
Yeah,
Lord, please help me.
Hey, she was getting a prayer across.
Yeah, no doubt.
So we were down at the shed, and everything happened at the shed. We washed cars there, and they get me to help wash the tires, all that low work, because I was 10, 12 years old. Mm-hmm. And they was all having hoorahs, and there wasn't no drinking going on, but there was foul mouth and telling dirty jokes and all that, and you'd hear all that stuff. And so I was always having to listen to it. So one day I had my bicycle, a banana bike. Y'all remember the ones that had the long seat and the big high handlebars? Yeah. I was a chopper man. Well, I just left it there. My mama called me, it was across the road, and I went up there to see what mama wanted. And so when I get back, I think they're maybe eating. The porch is full of folks, and I thought my Aunt Kathleen, I got something cooked. So I said, I looked up there, and when I looked back to see where there's all that, we'd all been down the shop or down the shed, I reached over and grabbed my bicycle. They hooked up the electric fence to it.
Oh, no.
The cattle fence.
Oh. To the bicycle.
And had it sitting on a rubber mat where the kickstand wouldn't be grounded, and I become the ground. Probably a barefoot 10 or 12-year-old boy. I throwed that thing back, and I jumped back. And they're all up there standing on the porch, about 6 or 8 steps, and probably about 75 foot. And they're watching me and laughing. Well, I can't hear them, they just, hold it.
Yeah.
So I reached down and get it again.
Oh, once wasn't enough.
I thought, how you can slide across a seat or walk across something, you get that charge of electricity. Yeah. I thought, and I just reached and grabbed it. It was going to just take that joke. And by that time, it hit me good. I grabbed hold of it good. And they up on that porch, they're dying laughing. I told you I was raised like that. Well, payback, you remember what I told you? Payback's coming. I was raised with that. They got the big idea. They were going to be big bee hunters. We were going to go through the forest, and we're going to find trees, and we're going to cut them down, and we're going to rob bees, and if we can, we'll carry a hive and try to. They're going to do like these shows you see, and I'm with them. Whatever they want to do, I'm with you. So we carried pickup trucks off in the woods, and they carried their chainsaws. That's all. A couple of them was in pulpwood a little bit, and they got out there, and they all 2 or 3 veils, and some of them stood back on the side of the hill. I know them. I don't have a veil. I'm probably there in short sleeves in July with short breeches on. And I'm going to lock them doors, and the keys are going to be in the switch because they never did, you don't get the keys out in the woods. And all of a sudden, they had their wrists taped up with tape, and they looked like a mummy. They had tape everywhere, and they was trying to stop all the hose up. Well, when they cut the tree down, it started getting hot. The tape and all started coming loose and, working. Sleeves were sliding up. And one of them, he scared of his own shot anyway. The bees started eating him up. Well, he come up there swinging around that veil trying to get them bees off. These were mean bees. They was eating him up. He said, unlock the door and let me in. Unlock the door and let me in. I said, you ain't coming in here. So the bees was eating his butt up. So they ate him up, and I didn't let them in. They finally run up on the side of the hill and got their clothes all together and got them off, and that bees are still laying on the ground. I don't know how much honey they got, but they didn't capture those bees. So it wasn't long that they think everybody should learn to swim. We're either sailing in the river or we're making phone calls to the catfish. I can't remember which one it is, but one, two, or the other. And they got tired of me sitting up in the boat. I'd hand them a dip net, and I'd sit up there, and I'd just watching what they were doing. I'd help hold the bucket and pour the brim and stuff out, fishing trot lines. Or
ringing the telephone.
So one of them come over at the boat and said, don't you think it's time you got to where we fish a lot of shows? Don't you think you old enough now that you can start running lines and stuff, and if the boat ain't here, you can walk out there. If you fall in or whatever, you can swim? And I said, I'm not ready to start swimming. They said, yeah, you are. They drug me out of the boat, picked me up, and chucked me out in the deep water. This is a true story. And said, swim or drown. My daddy and mama wasn't there.
No. Guaranteed they wasn't there.
They wasn't there. I always run around with them. they're half crazy.
Dylan, tell me another one off his nice little list you got.
You was talking about game wardens and hunting and stuff. So back when me and my wife was just dating, I'm from Ball Play, which is basically just a swamp. That's all it is.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing else out there except for beans and grains. So
Beans and grains is a fine place to eat.
It is the best place to eat.
I'm glad you clarified that. I was thinking farm.
So we went riding around one night. It was about 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And we got to riding. It was out there close to my house where I was living at. I lived with my grandmother at the time. I had an old Nissan hardbody, 86 Nissan hardbody, 5-speed. We get up to this one field, and the sunlight, it was hitting just right that afternoon to where we could see everything. But I pulled my truck up, and this was public property to where I could hunt it, and I had all the permits to hunt it. So I'm sitting there, and there's a doe walking across. Well, I get out of the truck, and I roll the window down. I lean the gun up, shoot it. Well, I put the gun back in the truck, and I take her back to my grandmother's house, take the gun and her back to my grandmother's house, which is just right around the corner. And I told her, I said, look, just sit here for a little bit. I'm going to go back and get that deer. Well, I go back over. I go through the ditch, get out there in the field, go get that deer. So I noticed I shot it with 30-06, and it instantly dropped. What I didn't realize is I hit it high. So for anybody that's never been hunting before, a deer's not dead if its eyes are closed. It's playing possum.
It's a good advice.
Yeah, so I didn't know that. So her back legs didn't work anymore, but her front legs,
full strength,
dead on. Mm-hmm. Best they've ever been her whole life. When I grab her back leg, she comes around with that front hoof and she catches me
in the nose,
dead middle of the nose. I'm talking about it's instant,
fillets,
just like stars. Like
knockout punch.
All my common sense is on the ground. That's the hardest I've ever been hit.
By doe deer.
Yeah, by anything. I've never been hit that hard. I didn't know an animal could hit that hard. Well, everything finally gets settled down. I get back home. My eyes are black right here. And I walk in. Well.
Toted that one.
Yeah, toted it. So I walk in. I get the deer cleaned up and everything. And we get it sectioned up. I walk inside the house, and my grandmother, being the lovely lady that she is, she's sitting on the couch. She looks up at me. She says, "You went hunting, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." She went, "Huh, bet you won't do that again." When I woke up the next day, that was the worst feeling, like my head. Because where she hit me at, she hit me right here.
In the bridge.
Right there in the bridge. Mm-hmm. And you want to talk about just getting knocked, just plumb stupid. That was the worst, I'm telling you, the worst hit I've ever had. And she was a big old doe. I mean, she took up by that old Nissan.
There's one thing that they can do, and they can use what the Lord has given them. And they know... I
don't know how strong the back legs are, but if they're stronger than the front, you better not get behind one.
Don't take it across the bridge of the nose.
Don't take it across the bridge of the nose. That is a soft spot.
A number of lessons in that. Yeah. You've got a bridge story.
Yeah. So, growing up around Center, me and one of my buddies, we got real big into the noodling. We used to love doing it. That was my favorite thing to do, was to go noodling. So now remember, me and him, we basically grew up together. So he has stayed the night at my house. I have ate at his kitchen table. He's ate at mine. We're supposed to know everything about each other.
Supposed to.
So we go scouting one day, and there's a little spot out there. It's called Pruitt's Bridge. And there's a little boat ramp right there. So we walk out on the bridge, and we looking over in the water, and we're looking at this little channel. It's where people usually they keep the pontoon boats. There's a couple of docks in there, and I'm like, I bet we can get up in there, and we'll be able to get something. Now, I'm not a bad friend. I did make sure that his pockets was empty, because I didn't have no money to buy anything that he had in his pockets. But when he went to lean over to look at the rocks that I was pointing at, I just gave him a little pat on the back. He might have went over the rail. So he hits the water, and I'm sitting here and I'm laughing, and he's sitting there and he's hollering at the bottom of the bridge, I can't swim, as he's going up and down. And now look, we had a swimming pool at my house. I've watched him swim. So I'm sitting there thinking, he's pulling my leg. Well, then he didn't come back up.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, I got going after him. So I'm sitting here, and I'm, those cars passing by, those people waving at me, they don't know there's somebody dying in the water up under me right now.
He's drowning.
Yeah. So
Time's a wasting.
I'm pulling stuff out of my pockets. I jump in. It ain't that far of a drop. So I jump in. Yeah, I jump in. I grab him, and I go over and I just set him. I mean, he was right there at the rocks. And really right there at that point, it wasn't that deep. I mean, it is if you can't swim. But it's not that deep.
If it's over your head, it's too deep.
Yeah, if you can't swim. So I get him on the rocks. Well, I get him back up to the truck, and he's calling me a lot of things. A whole lot of things. I think most of it wasn't even in English. I think he made some of it up. Well, I get back up to the truck, and we're sitting there, and he gets calmed down. And I looked at him, and I said, how come you never told me you couldn't swim? And he said, well, you never asked. Mm-hmm. And I said, dude, you swam in my swimming pool. He said, well, I could touch bottom. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, so all this time we've been noodling on the Coosa, and we've been doing this around all these boat docks. I said, you never not one time wanted to tell me, hey, by the way, just in case something happens.
Catfish fools me to deep water. Yeah. If it's loose, I'm gonna drown.
Yeah, because I don't know how to swim. And he's like, I never thought about that. And I'm like, well, now that I know,
I won't push you over the bridge.
Yeah,
I won't make you wear a kiddie life jacket.
Yeah, I tell you what, I won't push you over no more.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson.
Until you can swim.
Did
he learn to swim after that?
He never learned how to swim.
Wow. My mom and Mike had a place down in Foley on the bay, and it had a swimming pool, and the swimming pool was probably 6 feet deep. It wasn't real deep. We've been out there all day, and this was the puddle jumper era when those first came out. It goes across, you put your arms in the puffy floaties, and then it's got that floaty brace that goes across your front. The kids they were little, 3 and 5. They had been out there jumping in, getting out, jumping in, getting out, jumping in, getting out all day long. Well, we ate supper. When we ate supper, they took off their floaties. We're sitting out there on the back porch, finishing up supper, just hanging out, and I hear kaploosh.
Splash.
The people that could swim were all sitting beside me at the table. I look out there and just ripples. Instinct kicks in. I'm up out of the chair before I could even think and diving in there because I knew what was in there.
One of the children are in there.
There she was at the bottom, just bubbles.
Not swimming.
No.
Rock style.
Rock at the bottom of the pool. And I go down there and grab her and, push her up. Come out of the water. I set her on the side. And then, the adrenaline starts to go down a little bit. And I'm thinking, we're not out on that back porch.
Yes.
Devastation.
They're gone.
Oh, yeah.
She's gone.
Yeah.
Quick.
And
how old?
3.
Oh, man.
Man.
I couldn't even be mad.
No.
I was so
thankful.
Yeah.
Thankful in that moment. And you know me, I'll lose my patience on you pretty quick. And I just said, listen.
Don't do this.
I need you to listen. You don't go in here without the puddle jumper ever. And she was so shook up and realized what was fixing to happen. Buddy,
Not in the puddle
You
jumper
never
again.
had to tell her ever again.
Hey, can I get my puddle jumper?
Let me get my puddle jumper before
Can I
we
get
go.
two of them?
Experience is a
have to.
good teacher, but it's not the best teacher.
Man,
Yeah, because it can cost you a lot more sometimes than you want to pay.
that would have been the ultimate price.
Yeah.
So, and I know people have, and I hope I was as sensitive as I could. I know some people have been on the other side of that, and if that's happened to somebody who's listening, I'm very sorry. I was just thankful and blessed that I was out there.
Yeah, that's a scary situation.
I've been kind of in that situation. There's a place over up there around Sand Rock. It's called the Hippie Hole. So you got a 10-foot jump, 20-foot jump, 30-foot jump, and it's right beside a waterfall. So I've jumped off the 10, jumped off the 20. Well, this day it was me and a couple of my buddies. When you jump off the 30,
Different trajectory.
it is because you have time to think at 30
What you
foot.
want to do.
Yeah, you have time to think of what all you messed up to get you to that moment right there. When you jump off the rock into the waterfall. The waterfall pushes you to where you can hit the bottom to push yourself back up. As long as you land straight.
You more belly flop, probably not so good, huh?
When I jumped, I went crooked. So I didn't hit the bottom. So now I'm trying to fight to get back up because to get to the bottom also you let all your air out right before you hit the water.
Too
So
much thinking.
Yeah. So when I pop my head back up, you don't realize it underwater that you're moving, that undertow. So when I hit the water, I'm in front of the waterfall. When I pop my head up, I'm
In the waterfall?
I'm probably 75 yards downstream.
There's a lot of water flowing.
Yeah. So I have to swim back upstream. Now I just fought to get back up. Now I got to fight to go up the stream. That's the last time I jumped over.
I ain't jumping over 30.
Yeah,
Lesson
I made
learned.
it. I made it out, and I said, you know what? That's all right. I got my medal.
You taught me to never jump.
I learned that lesson from somebody else, and it was later in life, which I'm not a base jumper anyway. But one of the boys, Phelps boys, matter of fact, jumped at what's this? Martis Mills, and he hit his foot on the bottom or a rock or something, and it compound fractured. They had to tote him out of there, and then had a fight to keep his leg because of the infection that came out of it.
Because the bone went through the skin.
In the water.
Compound fracture.
Oh, in the water.
Yeah, so there was all kind of nastiness.
Things.
Right.
Slime, mud.
Yeah, all fish, everything, manure, all the stuff. And so when you jump in that water, you can't see what's in there. You might think, okay, well, this is 30 feet. You've got some momentum headed down.
Most
there.
uncontrolled thing that happens when you jump in water.
What is the most controlled thing?
When you jump in water, the most uncontrolled thing and the most, when you hit the water, you have no control and you stop.
Well, you definitely have no control when you leave.
You're a human torpedo.
That's why I don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't practice being in the air ever. And you've got to know the balance. You know,
You get to that
Gotta
move.
fly.
You get
You're
to that
fluttering.
move. You're probably going to meet Jesus. I'm just gonna go ahead and let
You're
you
doing
know.
this and you're not making any ground.
you think you're doing the full
the
swings,
full
but really you're just. I'm telling you,
And let me tell you something else. Even when you die, when you get to heaven, you ain't gonna be an angel. You ain't getting no wings there to help you either.
Oh man!
You
Trying to produce wings when you have zero. I mean, we have no.
And you look at a bird fly, it's effortless. They just gliding along through the air.
That's because they were made that
How many of
way.
y'all ever tried to make
Yeah,
wings
I got some
and stick
hair,
your
but
arms
that's-
out and try to glide when you was a kid? You're going to fly, you're going to put you some wings on, and you give them to you in these Halloween suits. You think you're going to be
Oh, yeah.
Superman. We all try it. The capes make you fly. No. Man was not meant to fly.
No. We had I'm going to take you back real
me back.
quick. I wish Dylan could appreciate this. I'll try to paint the picture. You may remember it. The playground at the old elementary school, now the primary, it's a hill. The whole thing's
The
a
whole
hill
thing.
from top to bottom.
Beer Bond Park, right beside it.
Right beside it, on the other side of the flume, that you get whipped if you went to get a ball
Don't
on the
go
other
past the
side
flume.
of it. Don't go over there. In the middle of that was a huge terrace row. Would y'all take off running as fast as
jump.
you could and jump on those things?
Just to see how much you
Oh
can fly.
man, and you know,
See how far you can go.
Hey, you were going about this far.
maybe, but it felt like you were. I mean, you get your
And
belly.
sometimes you lost your balance. You end up with skint all.
And nothing but
like
rocks.
you've been in a
There
bad wreck.
wasn't a blade of grass down there.
I tell you what I've been having the past few months is dreams about flying.
Really?
Which, when I was a kid, was regular, but
Flying or falling?
no flying.
Oh,
planes.
He's about to
No,
buy a
not
plane.
planes.
you
Like being able to
like
run.
Like you got feathers.
Yes, and no, I don't have feathers. I can just propel myself fast enough to fly. When I
More
was
than
a kid-
once.
In the past 3 months, I've had it multiple times.
What do you do? I mean, I've always wanted to kind of be able to fly.
You never flew in your dreams?
I don't think so.
I failed before.
He's having
Oh,
dreams.
those are the worst.
He's having dreams. He's having dreams of the rapture.
Maybe
That's the
I
only one
don't.
I'll ever be able to fly.
No, so falling is scare. Like you're scared.
Yes.
When I fly in my dreams, I'm just like flying around. For instance, one of them, I was in a basketball gym, like a gymnasium, and I'm flying around.
There go Peter Pan.
That's exactly what it's like.
Have you been
Peter
watching
Pan.
They're like
football games
Tinkerbell.
where they got those cameras and they move them fast as the ball moves and they come down
The
in the huddle
drones?
and back up? And that's the only thing I can think that you might think you'd be flying on.
It's why I don't know. Maybe somebody out there can interpret why I'm flying in my dreams lately.
I need some help.
From about 10 to 40, never had, like I used to have.
You went on a
regular
long
when I was
dry
a kid.
spell.
Dry spell of flying. But then the past 3 months, like I said, who knows?
When you get above 60, I don't remember when the last dream I had.
Oh, that's sad.
If I have them, I don't remember.
He said
That's a good thing because I have woke up. Boogers chasing me and stuff. I've had that happen, and maybe something was happening before me that I didn't want to see. It might have been an event in life that I just didn't want to see, didn't want to be a part of, and I've had a memory lapse of dreams.
Two dreams.
It's
I
got to
don't
be
wanna
really
have.
a good one.
One is the obvious, falling.
I hate that dream.
Number two, a fight that I can't swing my hands.
Take a
Have you had
beat
that dream
before-
before?
You talking about
how many
taking a
times
beat?
I've had that dream?
Or when you do swing, it's like you put it all and it's just like,
I mean, I'm talking about it's
Yeah.
just dead. It's like you're just
Until
doing a
you wake
shoulder
up.
throw.
till you wake up and you're beating the tar out of your pillow.
have I told about my brother's dream and him fighting? One day I'd come in from work and my brother and his wife had come over to the house, and if there's one thing I can tell you about them two is when there is a conflict.
Evident.
It's evident when there's a conflict. And so I walk in the room and I immediately say, "What's the problem?" Like, cause let's just go ahead and address it. And Vanna looks at me and said, "Tell him, just tell him." And Steven said, "She's mad at me." And I said, "That's obvious, but why are we mad? Why? What is the conflict?" He said, "Well, last night I'm dreaming that someone has broke in to the house." And he said, and I'm fighting them in my dream. And I'm doing all I can to make sure that I'm protecting the house and I'm just all in fighting, and you're dreaming, you're trying to, and you can't, you're trying to kick, and he said it's just a struggle for me. And I get what, and Vanna wakes me up from this. And I said, "And she's mad at you because you woke her up." "No, that's not why she's mad." "Well, Vanna, why are you mad?" "Because of the way he was fighting them." And I said, excuse me? Yeah, you should have seen him. He did wake me up, but he was going.
No effort.
He's really defending them.
He wasn't giving enough effort in his dream, so she
Made her
got mad because of his lack of effort outwardly.
This is
showing.
serious. You're not making this up.
Not making this up. As serious as I can be, and I began to laugh hysterically. And he said she is literally mad at me because of how I fought somebody in my dream, but it wasn't. She don't know how hard I was working in my dream. All she saw was the external.
Vanna, if you're watching this, likely you're not. Wow.
Yeah,
That's rough.
Can you toe that line, Dylan? That's
pretty critical.
That's rough.
That's grounds for sleeping on the couch.
Well, that's right. Uncle Tim is siding with Vanna here. Just remember, men, young men.
He sides with Vanna?
He's siding with Vanna here.
Yeah.
You got to give forth some effort.
That
He's dreaming.
She couldn't see what he was going through.
Well,
I'm
she
sympathizing
saw
with
what
him
he was effort.
because I'm a shoulder fighter too. In my
it's
dream.
a little weak, but he was dreaming. It was a dream.
But he wasn't.
But
he wasn't.
He wasn't really impacted by it.
That's
bad.
right. That's the problem.
I woke up, pulled all the cover off, threw it on the floor, and all that stuff. And guess what? Made my wife mad. Some things you'll never win. I'll argue with the woman's one of them. Been married 46 years.
There's
And my
some
wife's
experience
favorite
there.
words are this: yes, ma'am, and yes, dear.
Wow.
And that calms the seas of Galilee and the Red Sea in the home. Most stuff are not worth fussing over.
Yeah,
That's true.
That is true.
I'm learning that a little bit.
If you love each other, it ain't worth fussing about.
My mom prevented Dad from shooting up their bed one night.
Did he?
Doggone.
Or did
He
she?
was having a dream that the bed was full of snakes.
That's
And
rough.
he,
I
still,
will probably shoot it up too.
still asleep, he is trying to get in the bedside table to get the 38 Smith & Wesson. And she had to give every effort that she could to just stop him from, opening the drawer and shaking him. And finally, he popped out of it. And she said, "What are you dreaming about?" He's like, "All the snakes in the bed." And she said, "It's a dream." And he finally came out. But she said if she wouldn't have been there and he could have got in that
Hey, come back
bedside
to
table.
me.
Yeah, come on back in
Maybe
here.
a new mattress
on.
in the house tomorrow.
And new feet. You know what I'm
Shut 'em
saying? I'm going to tell you the most memorable dream, and then we're going to get to scripture time. I don't remember all my dreams. Sometimes I can remember them for a few minutes after I wake up, but usually they just fade off and
As the
never
heart
to be
goes
learned
back
again.
down, the dream
Yeah.
goes away.
It goes away. I was running from the Lord, living just for myself. That's the best way to say it. I was living for myself. I was doing what I wanted to do. We were out on the islands off the coast of Mississippi. I've never told this, have I? On a houseboat. We're out in the middle of the Gulf out there. Midnight. We've been up all night. So we go to bed. We'll go to bed in this houseboat. You had to go down on the very bottom of the ship. And when you went in the bottom of the ship, you went to the front, to the hull, and there were bunks. Well, I went down there, went sound asleep. And I started dreaming that I was falling, which I've already told you I can't stand falling dreams. But this one was a little different. I'm falling, and all of a sudden, the temperature starts to change. It was the normal temperature, and it started getting hotter. I thought, man, it's getting warm. Why? Meanwhile, I'm in this frantic flailing, however you want to say it. Then something else happens. These screams start getting louder and louder and louder. I've got no visual, but the further I fall, the louder, the hotter it gets, the more intense screams are, and now I can start seeing what's around me. And I'm falling in a perfect circle hole. And inside, as I'm falling, I see these caves in the walls of this big hole. And as I'm falling now, I can start seeing these I don't know what kind of animals, objects, people, what they are, and they're trying to grab me as I come by, and they're just screaming at me and trying to grab me. And right when it gets so hot that I about can't tolerate it, I woke up. I am drenched. There's not a dry spot on my body. No. It was as air conditioned and as cool as it ever was. I'm going to tell you what this old boy did immediately. I got on the side of that bed and I started praying. Mm-hmm. I said, Lord, I know. Mm-hmm. I know that I ain't doing the right thing. I know that I'm running from you.
You got my attention.
You got my attention. That's the best way you can say it. And I asked for forgiveness. Again, I'm saved. I'm just not living like it.
Yeah.
And I prayed right there, buddy. And I tell you what, I never will forget that as long as I live.
No, that one's when you remember.
Hell is a great deterrent to sin.
It was a great deterrent that day in the middle of the Gulf of America.
Yeah. It's funny. I've had the same dream.
Stop.
I swear.
Don't just make this up.
Yeah,
man.
I've had the same one back. So I was a firefighter for a little bit, and when you start going through some of the things that you see, you start trying to find ways of coping with stuff. So the way that I coped with stuff back then was I would go to sleep, but I wouldn't be sober. I'd have to just get lit and just black out and go to bed.
Man.
That way I wouldn't have any nightmares. So this night, I do that. I do it that night.
That was your routine.
That was my routine. I'm only, at the time now, you got to think, at the time I'm only 22, 23, somewhere around in there. And so I go in there and I go to bed. I'm on my way home. I stop by the store, get what I need to get, and I come on home, drink it on the way home. And whenever I get in there, I go to bed. Well, I go to sleep. And I've never told anybody this story.
I'm here for it.
So I wake up and it's pitch black where I'm at, and I can smell the smell that I smell is just like it's something that you can't duplicate it. And it's not like the heat that I felt, it wasn't like just like standing by a fire. It's kind of like standing over an oven when the stovetop's cooking. That's the type of heat that you could just feel it just kind of radiating. But at that moment, the best way I can describe it is I felt no love whatsoever. I felt empty. And I remember walking down this hall, but it was kind of like walking into it, like walking in a cave. The rocks kind of stuck out, and I didn't want to walk, but it felt like I was getting pushed. So I was trying to back up, but I couldn't back up. Well, then about the time I felt something touch my shoulder, and I looked up and I said, God, no. And I woke up. So yeah, I've had, for a long time I always thought that was just really just like my mind playing tricks on me. I actually have kind of buried that dream until
There's good reason.
Yeah, until you bring that up.
No, that wasn't your mind playing tricks on you.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to turn to the scripture time, and I think this is all going to come together just right. Shane and I tell a story. We've told it at Storytellings. We've told it on the show. We've got reels about it. It's called Sack Lunch Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sack Lunch Sunday is a story about me not understanding what the preacher was preaching about. And he's preaching about the fishes and the loaves, and I thought he was talking about literal food, and I was hungry. But we're going to actually read that passage today. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to start. This is John. I'm going to try to read the scripture right. You've got me kind of nervous. Grandma will be calling me. John 6, 5 through 13. But Jesus has been teaching, he's been preaching, he's been doing miracles, and he's got a little bit of a following. People following him around. And so that's what's happened. He's out in the middle of nowhere, and this big crowd of people is following him. So that brings us to the 5th verse. Jesus soon saw a huge crowd of people coming to look for him. Turning to Philip, he asked, "Where can we buy bread to feed all these people?" He was testing Philip, for he already knew what he was going to do. Philip replied, "Even if we worked for months, we couldn't have enough money to feed them." Then Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. "There's a young boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good is that with this huge crowd?" Jesus said, "Tell everyone to sit down." And then Jesus said, so they all sat down on the grassy slopes. The men alone numbered about 5,000. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks to God, and distributed them to the people. Afterward, he did the same with the fish, and they all ate as much as they wanted. After everyone was full, Jesus told his disciples, "Now gather the leftovers so that nothing is wasted." So they picked up the pieces and filled 12 baskets with scraps left by the people who had eaten from the 5 barley loaves. So many takeaways in this, but I'm going to start with what I hope you guys get today, and I'm going to tie it back to the stories that have been told. You told about when you got called to preach, you had 2 days to do it, and you took what you had and you gave it. You did the same thing. You had 2 weeks, but you took what you had after that 2 weeks and you gave it, and it was 7 minutes, and it was 7 minutes. And every single day, we should be doing the same thing. Take what God has given us, even though it may seem like a short sermon or not very much, you don't have many talents or gifts or whatever. It's not about that. It's about giving what we have to God and letting him bless it and use it for his glory. Mm-hmm. They didn't include that Jesus told them to go gather them 12 baskets of food left over for no reason. I guarantee, I can't guarantee, but I can, in my heart, I believe that as those disciples had their basket and they're filling it full of that food that they didn't think could ever happen, that they were reminded of the power of Jesus in that moment and what he could do with very little.
Exactly who they was talking to.
Little is much if God is in it. Mm-hmm. Now the widow, she only gave those 2 mites.
Yep.
And the Bible says that it would be, she'd give it, and it would be as a memorial forever because she gave all she had.
Yeah.
One of the greatest messages I've ever heard preached on this text, I had no idea where the pastor was going. And he painted a picture, and he began to talk about a farmer that worked and toiled and scratched, and he gathered seed, and he just painted this picture about this farmer. And I was like, what in the world is this guy talking about? and then he sold, the farmer reaped the grain and sold it at the market, and then some younger lady came by and she bought the grain and ground it, and the whole process turns it in and brings it down to the farmer's work, to the woman's grinding, to the making the bread, to the young boy bringing it to Jesus, and how the farmer never saw the benefit to the effort that he gave in the grain or raising the grain. But that's oftentimes where some of us are. We'll never see the things that God does with the effort that we're giving forth. And he painted it in the picture of, maybe the man was a Christian man and he prayed over, hey, just let this grain be used to your kingdom, not understanding what Jesus was going to do for the kingdom with his efforts to raise the grain. Which seems minimal.
Yeah.
That's a good application for somebody who is giving what they've got and they're not seeing any fruit from it. They're like, well, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Yeah. I'm giving my loaves and fishes to him. I'm not seeing anything. That don't mean nothing's happening.
Using it.
God could be using it and you just never know it. And we have to find peace in.
You never know where the seed's going to come up.
Well, you
But
just
when they
never
do,
know if God's doing something with it or not. You don't know.
don't.
But
Well-
that can't be the reason that we keep going.
Our reason to continue to go is because God is God, and that's what we've been instructed to do.
Using the talents.
Yeah.
Well, that little
You know,
boy,
same thing.
he was obedient.
Yeah.
He turned those fish over to the Lord. He turned that bread over, and it says you said there was 12
Baskets
baskets
left over.
That was left over.
After 5,000 men, that's just men. There would have been women not in the 5,000, children not in the 5,000. There's no telling how many people were fed that day.
For with God, nothing should be impossible.
That's right. So as we bring it to a close, if you've been holding back because you only think you've got a couple of fish and a few loaves and it ain't going to make no big difference, I hope this will encourage you. Use what God, if you're a Christian, if you're a follower of Christ, use what God has given you and let him bless it. Pray over it.
Yeah.
And
Say, God, you do this.
you do it.
It'll multiply.
Well, you guys have been a blessing this afternoon. It's rainy Friday evening here
Thank
in
you,
November.
Jesus.
Yeah, hey, we need some rain. Them rivers are running low. But I went over the Mulberry the other day, and
You could jump the rocks all the way across and not get your feet wet.
I'm telling you. So thank you, Lord, for the rain. Thank you guys for your stories, your travel, your commitment.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. But that's going to do it tonight here at the Hayden Alabama Podcast. I'm Philip.
I'm Shane.
I'm Tim.
I'm Dylan.
They did a good job that time. We'll see you guys next week.